So Kenya leading narrowly, though, from Ethiopia. And if anything, I think maybe the Ethiopian second leg athlete here, Dadi Dube, has closed up a little bit on the Kenyan Nyambura. Dadi Dube, just checking her card. She's only 19 years old. She anchored Ethiopia to second place in the relay at the African cross-country championships just recently. She was third in the Ethiopian 1500 meters last year too, so she's got very, very good track speed. Nyambura here will have to watch herself, the Kenyan second leg athlete who leads by just a few meters.
Looking a little bit back down that long shot. As certainly Morocco have moved ahead of Serbia. So they are Serbian with Tomasevic are struggling to maintain that excellent momentum provided by Bibic on that first leg, and the others are starting to close in behind, including Uganda, France, South Africa, and the US.
Through the mud section then, and still that 10-meter gap, which isn't changing now between Kenya and Ethiopia. But of course, you don't want to run tactically and sprint well at the finish here. You want to use the full lap to optimize your time for that lap and give your following runners, this is only leg 2, remember, as much gap as possible between themselves and their pursuers.
Yeah, there's a slight tactical element, isn't there, to how you put your team out there, and I think certainly on these middle legs you need somebody who is capable of pushing themselves hard, not necessarily racing out there. The racers would be on the first leg and on the final leg to be able to react and respond to what has already been put down by the previous runners. So in these middle legs you really need someone capable of pushing themselves hard to try and build up a little bit of a gap. Yeah, we'll get more of an indication as they go up and over this, the steepest of the bridges, and she definitely makes up ground up that hill. Can she do the same coming down? Because that's also a skill in cross-country running, has been able to relax and run quickly downhill without expending too much energy.
It's always better to be on the shoulder of somebody in a relay, but she's not quite on the shoulder of Nyambura here. Not yet. Dube rather. So, towards the end of this second leg, we're at the halfway stage then in this mixed relay. 4 athletes from each nation running in the order of man, woman, man, woman. So the second leg coming to an end. And the Kenyan here in the lead, Nyambura, will hand over to Kumbe Munguti, compatriot. Munguti will have not much of a lead, and that's not an enviable position to be in. He's a 1:46.800 athlete, but he has run 7:44 indoor for 3,000, so he has good speed, a blend of speed and strength, and he grabs a couple of meters there at that changeover. Kenya from Ethiopia then, 1-2, way out in front at the halfway stage. And that gap, if anything, is growing significantly now with the third leg athlete for Kenya, Munguti. And just checking his card, well, he ran leg 3 last year in Bathurst, where the Kenyans took gold by 7 seconds from Ethiopia. Little sense of deja vu here. He was Kenyan 1500 meters champion last year, was Munguti.
And you can see he's really keen, and a few glances over his shoulder just to check the effect that surge out of the grabbing the wristband and getting going has had. And he's already opened up a little bit more of a gap, and you can see he's set out with a plan and with a vengeance here. He knows what he has to do. He knows he has to create as large a buffer as possible for their 4th leg final runner. Incidentally, further down as well for Japan, that is Nozomi Tanaka, who has moved her way up for Japan, and substantial improvement for them.
Wow. But look at the power of the Kenyan here. He is pouring it on as Munguti, trying to give as big a gap between himself and his pursuers when he hands over as possible. He actually was a pacemaker. Remember that remarkable world record over 2 miles in Paris last summer, the Diamond League meeting there by Jakob Ingebrigtsen, when he ran 7:54 to smash the world record of 2 miles. He was a pacemaker in that race, was Munguti. That's the caliber of pacemakers you need nowadays when you're attacking world records. But last year, when he ran the 3rd leg, he turned a 5-second deficit into an 8-second lead when he handed over to the final leg female for Kenya. Indeed, his was effectively the winning leg for Kenya last year, leg 3, and he's in the same position this year, and he is opening up a gap. That's a brilliant leg from Adam Fogg. Great Britain were way outside the medals, but he's dragged them up now towards with being within shouting distance of a medal as Munguti, with that long raking stride, heads towards the changeover zone. He's had a fabulous leg, pumping hard with the arms. Look at that, grimacing, the head rocking from side to side. He's given 101% here, and his reward is that gap between himself and the Ethiopian Kasai, because it's a massive gap now. That is a winning leg. I think he's done exactly the same as last year. Almost staggering there after he's handed over that wristband. But the Ethiopians have got a mountain to climb here to get back on terms with the Kenyan quartet, because 16:31 for the Kenyans. And the Ethiopians, oh my word, she's lost a shoe. How is that possible? She's just been handed the wristband. That is a disaster for the Ethiopian outgoing runner, Bira Abera. She's running with one spike.
She put it on top. Did the incoming runner step on the back of it? I didn't quite see what happened with that. I mean,
that must have happened.
Small impact is potentially going to happen just through the mud section, but it is otherwise fairly dry out there. But it's not easy to run with one shoe. It's not easy to finish a race when you lose a shoe during the race, but to run the entire race with only one shoe, she's definitely put herself at a disadvantage there. And can she be closed down by Katie Izzo, who's going for the US on their final leg, and Beth Morley for Great Britain?
Well, what a run that was from Fogg there on that third leg, because he's brought himself within 3 seconds of the USA. Now, there it is. Oh, can you believe it? The complications of relays on the track are well known, but on cross-country, you don't expect that to happen. The male incoming runner for Ethiopia, Kasai, running into the back of his female compatriot, Biri Abera, and ripping her shoe off, and she's now running with one spike. To be fair, the lead was almost insurmountable anyway when she took over, so all she's got to do is consolidate, hang on to this second place for Ethiopia. It would be miraculous if she could close down on Purity Chepkirui, the Kenyan final leg athlete.
It was always going to be tough, I think, with two shoes to be able to close down on Purity Chepkirui, who's running strongly, and we'll be getting information shouted to her from her teammates all the way around here. But she actually removed the shoe. She tried to put it back on, and she wasn't able to do that, so then wasted time trying to do so, and then removed the shoe and got on with racing. So that now is a substantial, insurmountable lead to make up on Purity Chepkirui.
Back to the leaders, and here we are in the latter stages now, just a few hundred meters to go for Kenya's final leg athlete, Purity Chepkirui. Well, she pours on the pace here. The gap has grown markedly back to the Ethiopians in second place. And Chepkirui, well, last summer she ran in the 1500 meters in Budapest with Kenya, but she was a late replacement for Brenda Chebet. So she stepped in at the last moment, didn't make it out of the heats. Hardly surprising when she wasn't expecting it. So this is consolation of sorts for Purity Chepkirui as she gets the glory leg without too much pressure from behind either.
No, but it's a brave run by Abera in second place, trying to maintain and hold on to that, as we've talked about, with just the one shoe.
Kenya then are going to retain their gold medal, their grasp upon gold in the mixed relay here. The middle race of 5 at these 45th World Athletics Cross-Country Championships in Belgrade. It's been a wonderful team effort from the 4 Kenyans. They have given their all. Chariot, Naimbura, Munguti and Purity Chepkirui here over the final few dozen meters. Approaches the line. She will be celebrated and greeted by her teammates, of course. She continues to look focused and determined as the gap grows back to second place, but it's a massive gap, and that's a big win for the Kenyan quartet. Their winning time last year, for what it's worth, 23:14, is relatively irrelevant on the cross-country circuit, about a minute quicker here today. Ethiopia having to settle for silver, as they did in Bathurst 13 months ago. And their final leg athlete, Biri Abera, needs a massive pat on the back, as I think she has thrown away the other shoe. She is running without spikes. She lost a shoe at the changeover a few minutes ago. Crosses the line in second place for her quartet, but she will be frustrated at that. And Morley of Great Britain, what a brilliant run from Bethan Morley here, who has moved from 4th into 3rd and powers towards the line for a brilliant bronze for the Brits. The first European medals of the day.
Ran her socks off to get herself into that position. You could see it dawning on her just in the closing strides that she had got a bronze medal.
Well, let's take a look at the very best action. A quick reminder of the 13 teams who set out for this mixed relay today, the third race of 5 here in Belgrade. Well, the Kenyans were expected to put up a strong showing. They were the defending champions, and on the first leg, of course, it was Renal Kipkorir, who is a world record holder for the junior mile, who blasted away and handed over a small lead to Nyambura. And up till this point, Paul, at the end of the second leg, things look pretty close between Kenya and Ethiopia.
Yeah, it was very close at that point. An excellent run from Ella Donahue of the USA moved them right up into contention at that point in the race. The key moment came at the handover, didn't it, from that second leg into the third leg, where I think we might have a look at it happening.
Munguti ran a fabulous third leg there for Kenya, but this changeover was a disaster for Ethiopia. Their incoming runner, Adehan Kasaye, handing over to Biri Abera. He ripped her shoe off as he handed over the wristband. And she had to run with one spike initially and then took that off and ran with no spikes most of the leg. So,
on the final leg, that was the battle for the bronze medal, and it was Beth Morley of Great Britain who had an outstanding run to make up ground.
It was indeed a very comfortable victory for Kenya to retain their title. Great running from Purity Chepkirui to stretch away from the teams behind her. The Ethiopian Biri Abera, we'll never know what she could have done had she been able to run with 2 spikes on her feet, but she negotiated her lap and the home straight, the finish straight, to get comfortable silver for Ethiopia. 22.15 for Kenya, 22.43 for Ethiopia, 28 seconds down, and Great Britain storming through for a bronze to catch the USA, with Morocco in 4th place. So Kenya having a wonderful day at the moment. They dominate the all-time medal table at these World Cross Country Championships, and that is being maintained so far here in Belgrade. Ethiopians replicating their silver from 13 months ago in Bathurst. And Great Britain, who finished in 6th place in Australia just over a year ago, taking a surprise bronze. You can tell it was a surprise for Beth Morley's smile at the end of her leg. What a run.
Deserved celebrations for the Great Britain team there.
Well, let's confirm the result of that mixed relay for you. Kenya did indeed retain their title. Ethiopia second once again. Silvers for them. Great Britain, that bronze medal, with Morocco coming through for a close 4th, just ahead of Uganda. And the French ensuring a couple of European teams in the top 6. Japan, USA, South Africa